playing was serious business for me. I woke up in the morning and today we're going to play this game and we're going to play this show and we're going to play. I had a list of things that I wanted to make believe every single day.
I've been hanging out in the East Village since a kid, since the 70s is the first time I came down here. I started to really come here a lot. So I've seen it when it was really in heyday of doldrum. It was really drug-infested, nasty playground for people who wanted to do naughty things. For me, it was an adventure, and it was a lot of fun and very romantic. I was running around and going to these parties, and it was a whole new world for me.
A lot of young people really gravitated towards music, instruments in particular, making music with instruments. I was this guy, I just wanted to do all of it. Like, I wanted to do it all. I wanted to figure out how you made that drum beat, and then once you had the drum beat, how do you put the bass line to the drum beat, and then once I had the bass line, how do you put the rhythm guitar and the lead guitar and then the keyboards, and then how do you mix it and hear it in the speakers, and then how do you publish it, you know, put it into an album or a cassette or a CD or MP3 or AIF. And then how do you present it to an audience? You know, do you DJ it? Do you put a band together and put it up on stage? All of that I love to do, you know, all that stuff. You know, music is very, very simple. I know people like to think that it's complicated, but to me it's a very, very simple thing. And the way to know what's simple about music is understanding silence. That's my trick. That's what I have. I really get silence. Like, if you can just sit in the silence and just listen to the silence, what happens to me, the more and more I listen in silence, the more and more I listen in silence, all of a sudden I can hear my heart. I'm like, oh, there's the drum. It's right here. So I just listen to that. Oh, I'm already drumming. My body's already doing it automatically. So I just connected that to my heart, and I became a drummer.
There's a great club called Robots in the East Village, and it's the first time I heard drum and bass, which back then was called jungle. That's the first time I really heard like electronic bass DJ music that really flipped me on my head. I sold my guitars and I got digital gear, and I got into DJing and making electronic music.
Like what I have, this system here is almost very similar to like what I started out with, except now it's digital. I had all tape machines. I would have reel-to-reel spinning around, and the microphones. I always had something like this in my house because it was a way for me to get deeper into sounds and start to make my own sounds. Dude, I wanted to be good. I wish I was good. But I definitely saw, like in punk music and experimental music, a way where I could be more instantly accessible or acceptable.
I went from kind of a rock and roll kid to meeting poets and dancers and projectionists, and he started to get this idea of taking a lot of these raw, empty spaces and squats and throwing parties and mixing all these things together in these parties. And, we were just making up. There was no real director or no direction. People were able to kind of coexist, what I would call underground environment.
In a town where registered Democrats outnumber Republicans 5-1, there's at least one man willing to challenge those odds. He's Rudy Giuliani, the once and future Republican mayoral candidate of New York.
Rudy Giuliani came in as the mayor of New York City and totally went from a very Democratic-run city to a very hardcore Republican-run city.
We can kick your city back!
Yeah!
And it was a radical change. A lot of that freedom was lost. A lot of buildings started to get bought up, and then people who lived next to the buildings that got bought that were having these parties didn't want the parties and started to shut it down and start calling the police. And you got a different culture coming here. You had the yuppies come in here and people working 9 to 5 and less artists and less musicians and less people living precarious lives. Yeah, little by little, people went back to the money. Started to branch out and started to see these other companies, and along the way, that's how I ended up meeting Kenneth with Temper Distortion. He was out there. So we are a sound designer and a set designer that are coming together and creating what we call sound installation pieces. And then I eventually ended up in the performance. So that was a big change. It's not a genre, it's not a kind of music, it's none of those things. We're not defined, we're not just like a music band that you go see at a club, and we're not just a piece of art on the wall that you would see at the gallery, and we're not just a play that you would see in a theater, or all three of those things and none of those things. So you see the difficulty. But we do it, and we've done it for years.
This is everything. Don't get old and lose this.